You want to talk about a video that you made because you got annoyed at some people or something. Can you tell us about it?
Oh, sure. It's not that I got annoyed at people. It's that I posted the video and people got annoyed with me.
Oh, okay. Well,
and I thought, well, what better place to sort of explore this territory than with an educated pair of podcast interviewers who are knowledgeable about nonsense, knowledgeable about science, knowledgeable about religion and arguments made. And it has to do with a short video where the Big Think series, you may be familiar with it. It's very easy to find on the internet. This is an organization that invites people who are known for thinking, I guess. But you actually have to not only think, but write about what you thought. Otherwise, you don't know.
Right. Otherwise, nobody would know. Yes.
No one would know. And so in that, they asked me 100 different questions about 100 different things, one of which was about the distance I was putting between myself and the atheist movement, if I would call it that. And this got me into some hot water with some ardent atheists out there. I think other people...
You mean there are ardent atheists out there? Wow. I hadn't noticed.
Is that the ardent? I don't know. Is that the right word? I don't want to use the word militant because that has other implications.
Right.
I think they could hear your throat clearing from space, Neil.
Yeah, exactly. So in that little bit, couldn't have lasted more than 3 or 4 minutes. All I said was that I have found that the atheist community is claiming me in the movement, and
as one of their own.
As one of their own. That's correct. And I wouldn't otherwise have a problem with that, except I know that my conduct and things I think and say and do are not what I don't think are what a person would think I would say or do if they labeled me as an atheist in modern times.
Oh, for fuck's sake, this arrogant, smug son of a bitch. Neil, you are an atheist, and you get called an atheist because you are an atheist. Nobody's conflating that you're the head of the atheist movement or anything like that. You are a person who does not believe a God exists. It's plain and simple. I love how he gets into this labeling bullshit. Oh, let's just not use labels at all. Let's not even use language. Let's have a conversation, but let's not use words because words are so limiting. You know, it's like, if you want to call me a man, what does that even mean? What is a definition of anything? How can we know anything? Neil, you're an atheist. You always were an atheist. You're also a few other words. A coward. Intellectually dishonest. You're an affable guy. You're a good teacher of science. You're not some great philosopher and intellectual, which, having read your Twitter account, you would think otherwise. This guy acts like he shits out Confucius-level haiku. Everything that he tweets. So self-satisfied. Oh my lord, the pompousness of this fuck. Neil, you are an atheist. That is an accurate factual description of your stance on the issue of the existence of God. That's not to say let's slap a label on somebody and never ask him another thing about it. No, we get it, Neil. You got more to say on it, and I'm sure you'll talk about it.
Times. And so I thought the two of you have thought long and deep and hard about this, and this would be a good venue to sort of have this conversation. What I wanted out of that interview was to say, don't label me anything. Have the conversation with me first. When you're done, if I fit some label that you've established, go ahead. But to pre-label me implies that you assert that you know all you need to know about me on that subject, thereby precluding a conversation that would actually...
What a ridiculous statement that is. Neil, this is not some crazily complex concept here. You either do believe in a God or you don't. And if you don't, you get called an atheist. That's how this works. He's acting like this is some issue that requires days and weeks of detailed investigation and conversation and exploration. Neil, we get it. You're amazing. Let me predict your amazing nuanced stance on atheism. I'm not going to say I don't believe in a God. I'm saying there is no evidence. I've yet to see evidence to suggest that. Fucking unbelievable. So I don't agree with labels. I'm going to use thousands, tens of thousands of labels throughout my life. I'm going to, in fact, use words. I'm going to use words constantly, every day. Words that have meaning behind them. I'll use them happily. Except when it comes to atheism. Then, no, I'm running away from that. I don't know why, Neil. For capitalistic reasons? Because you don't want to rock the boat? Maybe it's because you want, I don't know, funding for space travel and shit like that. and you're aware that the people that cut the checks are all religious, and if you label yourself an atheist, you're not going to get your little space program. I want to go to the moon again. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. Fuck off, Neil.
Right. And so I felt that labels are intellectually lazy ways of presuming that you know more about someone than you've actually earned. So have the conversation. And so, and what triggered this in me was on my Facebook page some years ago. There's a friend of mine who's an astronaut, a scientist, engineer, astronaut, who went into, in fact, it was Mike Massimino.
As I just predicted, this is the guy's primary concern. I mean, these people, they can't even get out of their own way. They just put their cards on the table. Like the guy's like, oh, no, I'm a scientist. I'm about science. I don't want to get into politics and the atheist movement. And don't even call me an atheist. Well, you're an atheist. Well, yeah, but don't even call me it. What are labels? What are words? Stop talking. Let's have a conversation where I will bullshit and spin the fact and then steer the conversation like a bull rider yanking the horns of a bull and steering it towards science education. Oh, you want to talk about the existence of God? I want to talk about space travel. And I also don't want to alienate 95% of the world and all the people with money in the world who could fund my beloved space program. Fucking disgraceful. Do you know that word, Neil? Are you okay with that label? You're disgraceful.
Who, fun guy, he's now in New York for a year off sabbatical from his time as astronaut. Not that American astronauts are going many places right now. Anyway,
No, not really.
Right, that's a whole other
Conversation, yes.
Invite me back for that one. But he was on his way up to repair the Hubble telescope. So I put a Facebook update, Facebook status, where I said, STS, I forgot the number, 132, whatever it was, going off to repair the Hubble telescope, Godspeed shuttle astronauts. And then came people said, wait a minute, I thought you were an atheist. And then all of a sudden, my conduct was being constrained by people who established for themselves what they thought I was.
Oh, blow me, Neil. Look at you. What I thought it was. What I thought it was. I love how his speech pattern, he speaks like he's like sitting on top of a mountain in lotus position. Neil, you're not that smart. I got news for you. Astrophysicist, you're not that smart, Neil. You really aren't. So here we go. This is what's beautiful. What a ridiculous thing to say. Your conduct was not being constrained. It was some guy taking your tweet over literally and saying, hey, wait, I thought you were an atheist. Why did you just reference God in public? You could have easily answered and said, oh, well, as a figure of speech, I actually don't believe in a God because there's no evidence of God, because there is no God. A very simple explanation like that would have, but no, oh, you're a victim now, Neil. Oh, you're trying to rein me in and control my conduct, and now I'm being labeled, and you guys think you can prejudge what I... Fuck off, dude. I use God all the time and say Jesus Christ all the time. Everybody knows I'm an atheist. It's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. Neil, what we thought you were is an atheist because of the fact that on repeated occasions and throughout your life, it has been unbelievably evident that you are an atheist, as most scientists are. So, Neil, what the problem is that you are running and hiding from a very obvious fact that you are an atheist.
All of a sudden, I can't use the word Godspeed.
Oh, fuck you, Neil. You can use whatever language you want. Oh, you poor little victim baby. Fucking Lando Calrissian. I'm not allowed to say Godspeed to the astronauts. Oh, God. Isn't the atheist movement? Look at these militant atheists. What a crybaby bitch. Grown man.
Or they're telling me how to behave. So if I'm not behaving in a way I'm supposed to as an atheist, then I wonder whether there's some other word that applies to me.
Oh, fucking ridiculous. They're telling me how... Could you blow this up any more than it possibly could be? They're telling me how to behave. You know who else tells you how to behave? Religious people. It's sort of their thing. Go ask the Charlie Hebdo killers about how you should behave. Why don't you tweet a cartoon of Muhammad in solidarity with all the people that have been massacred and are being persecuted and who are being threatened with violence? Oh no, you don't want to do that, Neil? You don't want to be part of the atheist movement? No, you just want to sit and play with your nerdy toys? Okay, do that, Neil, but don't try to label it as some noble act. You're somehow post-label. Oh, Neil, I am so complicated. Nobody asked me a question. Anybody who asks me a question that demands a yes or no answer, they are prejudging me. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, for fuck's sake. If you ask me a question, it demands a 5-hour podcast for me to spin and bullshit you and end up with a discussion about the space program and how it's underfunded. Neil, do you prefer Coke or Pepsi? Well, see, I don't want people to say I'm pro-Pepsi or pro-Coke. I mean, quite frankly, I don't drink either. I prefer orange juice and Snapple, if I'm going to be honest. So we can safely say then you're a non-Coke drinker? Well, that's a label. Well, you just said you're a non-Coke drinker. Yes, but now you're assuming that I don't drink you're assuming now I don't drink Diet Coke. I never said that. Oh, Neil, you are a grown-ass baby. Coward, weakling.
And I thought maybe you're a good question. Both of you guys you know how to get to the bottom of this. And so I just thought this would be a good place to hash this out.
Yeah, so I watched your excellent Big Think video, and one of my reactions was that I'm very sympathetic to your desire to avoid labels and sort of tribal affiliation.
Tribal affiliation. The tribal affiliation of, I'm not a part of any of these tribes. I'm staying out of their tribal shit. Oh, well, now you're a tribe. Congrats, you're now a tribe. You're the tribe of not being part of the tribes. Good Lord. What a clusterfuck of logic is this?
And it is true that the word atheist carries baggage and that many people will make assumptions about your ethical values or, your baby eating habits or what have you upon hearing that word. And even as sort of in terms of your own self-conception, there's a good argument for avoiding labels.
Yeah, much easier to just stand in the wings and not make any commentary. Yeah, Neil, don't tell us what you think about Israel-Palestine. Nobody cares. Neil, don't take a stand on that. Yeah, just sit by. Let people in Texas get shot to death. Don't comment. Sure. Sounds good. Let Christians gay bash. Don't tweet about that, Neil. You only have millions of followers. Don't take a stand, please. No, please. Get back to your own self-glorification. Much more important than taking stands or taking mandatory moral issues. The moral issues of your day, Neil, the ones that you're avoiding in mass and pretending like you're some holier-than-thou saint who is above such terrestrial concerns. Give me a break.
There's a great essay by Paul Graham called Keep Your Identity Small, and it's all about how labels affect your own self-conception and how labeling yourself, especially with a sort of ist label, like atheist or, I don't know.
Yeah, I reject all ists except scientist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the only ist I will accept.
And he does actually...
What the fuck? That's not even a joke. Why are you laughing? It's such a ridiculous statement on so many levels. Oh, labels. Don't give yourself an ist. Okay, how about a humanist? Yeah, I mean, that one's kind of good. I mean, it's everything about it is positive and good. It still has ist at the end of it. Not to mention, yeah, Neil, a scientist, that's exactly what you are. That is, every fiber of you is a scientist. So you are an ist. Completely and totally. And also, atheist, let's not forget, I mean, do we have to dissect the friggin' word again? It means you're not an ist. It's an aist. I'm an aist. I'm an atheist. Jesus Christ. I have to fucking explain that to these people? Wow. We are not that. Holy shit. Startling.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
so...
the only ist I will accept.
And he does actually...
Wait a minute, whoa. Oh, you will accept that label? Wait a minute, I thought we were against labels, bro. We gotta have conversations and use words. Words that are exactly like the word scientist and the word atheist. It's a vocal utterance that has a meaning behind it. But no, now it's a label. Oh, so what is that over there? Well, that's an apple. Why are you labeling that piece of fruit? What is a fruit? You're acting like, oh, now you've called it an apple, so now you know everything about it. You don't want to explore more into that, whatever that is. I'm not even going to refer to it by a word because I don't want to label it. It's a shape. It's a green thing sitting on the table. That's all. What is green? Well, green is a word. You know what green means. Yeah, and I also know what atheist means, you fucking jackass.
He does actually make that exception that being sort of a rationalist or scientist or empiricist is sort of it's not really a real kind of label because it's sort of more of the absence of labels than it is a label in itself. So he makes that allowance. But basically he just said it's really hard to think objectively about things when you have this sort of identification, the self-identification with a group that is supposed to believe a certain set of things. It makes it hard to change your mind, essentially. So I also try to avoid labeling myself. But at the same time, labels are also just words. And like the reason that we have words at all is just to make it sort of efficient to communicate with each other about what we mean. And so I think there's a stronger case to make for some labels, like maybe like liberal or Democrat, to avoid those labels because they're so complex and there's so many different positions that maybe any one person doesn't identify with, that you want to avoid identifying yourself so that you can sort of remain objective about all the various components of that label. But something like atheist, I could see how people would say, well, it's just a very simple thing. It's just, do you have a belief in a God? Do you think it's very likely that there is, that a God or gods exist or not? And if not, then you're an atheist. And that's basically all there is to it. And all of this other baggage, like whether you're publicly vocal about your position, or, I don't know, whether you think that Christianity should die out, you like actively want it to die out, that's all unrelated to the label atheist. And by accepting that association of all of that baggage with the label, you're sort of making the problem worse.
Okay, so I hear you, and you make an important and excellent point. However, I think about words often. I've studied the trend line of how people use words, what they think they mean, and there are those who would assert, wrongly, that the dictionary defines words we use in our language, but that's false, not in the English dictionary. The English dictionary defines nothing. The English dictionary describes words as they have come to be used and as they have come to be interpreted. That's what a dictionary does. So you can say, atheist has this really simple definition that you strongly doubt or feel pretty confident that there's no God in the world or anywhere in the universe. And fine, if that's all it is, and I say I'm an atheist, then why does someone tell me what words I should or shouldn't use? Why does someone then want to fight me with expectations of what that word should mean when applied to an individual? I don't want to have those fights because I'm an individual. And for example, I would fight strenuously to keep AD and BC in our time reckoning, because I think that was the Gregorian calendar is an awesome achievement in the measurement of time, and we ought to credit it where credit is due. The freaking Gregorian calendar, and it's created by Christians, Jesuit scientists. Let it be.
What the fuck are you talking about, Neil? We do keep that shit. Gregorian calendars? Neil, if you call yourself an atheist, which is what you are, it's a description. You're not saying you're an anti-theist. It's fucking ridiculous. If you call yourself an atheist, that doesn't mean you want to eradicate the term BC. It doesn't mean you want to say, you know what, I don't want to count. I don't want it to be 2015 because that's based on Jesus. And where did you get that? You are running and hiding from a word because you are afraid of the connotations. I don't want to fight this battle. So you are the worst of the worst kind of person, because you are somebody that everybody knows is an atheist. You're just afraid to say it. You want to give some bullshit 20-minute speech about how, well, labels and words and, and it's like pulling teeth to get you to admit that you know there's no God. Oh, and I know, let's not get too technical. Nobody knows anything. Let's all recognize that we're all agnostic. You know to the greatest measure that is humanly possible that there is no God. You know that like you know everything else that you know. So let's get real and let's stop tiptoeing around this goddamn word game.
And is that the conduct of is that what an atheist would do? If not, find me another word. And
what are you talking, Neil? You are freaking out of your mind. You're out of your mind. If I say the A word, and that's like the scarlet letter, so now somebody's just going to say, well, Neil, what do you think about things? Well, no, don't talk to him. He's an atheist. Neil, you're allowed to use more than one word. You don't just say, oh, what are your thoughts on spirituality, the divine, the possibility of a God? I'm atheist. I am atheist. Conversation over. That's not how it works, Neil. You can continue to talk. You can elaborate on your oh so nuanced scientific astrophysicist atheism, which is exactly the same as mine and anybody else's. Because you know what we have in common? The definition of the word. We don't believe in a God. Oh my God, I am friggin' Albert Einstein.
Or rather, find me no word at all. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson.
You're a cunt. Neil, you're a cunt. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil, do you prefer Coke or Pepsi? Me no want to answer. That is limiting. Why are you controlling my conduct on the issue of soda? I am Neil deGrasse Tyson. I do not make opinion about Coke or Pepsi. Neil, you are a coward. You are an insufferable, self-satisfied, overhyped, black teddy bear. You're not all that, Neil. You really aren't.
Or rather, find me no word at all. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. Call me that.
What a fucking moronic thing to say. Call me that. Neil, who is Neil? What does it say on his Twitter feed? Well, it says, in the About section, it says, astrophysicist and author. Well, wait a minute. Those are labels. Why'd you put those labels in your Twitter? Why don't you say, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson? Okay, what are some of your likes and hobbies? No, I'm just Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, well, what's your favorite movie? I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, so if you care to ask me, then we will have a 2-hour conversation about that. Okay, well, are you a man or a woman? Well, that's a label. Okay, what is your occupation? I don't want to put a word to that because I do more than one thing, and now you're going to limit me, and it's a whole thing. Neil, you are insufferable.
But, okay, 2 points. Well, actually, 1 point and 1 question. So we can move the discussion a little bit. The point about, you do make an interesting point about the dictionary usage.
By the way, I don't think that's true in France. I think they actually,
in
France, they control the language.
That's correct. There is a language police in France.
The language police.
But I think in general, if you look at the way linguists describe dictionaries actually do perform both functions to some extent. I mean, yes, a dictionary is descriptive, of course, of what the current usage of words is. It's also to some extent, and in a limited period of time, prescriptive, meaning that you can say to somebody, well, you're using the word incorrectly, because most people at the moment, as reflected by the whatever it is, dictionary, the Oxford or the Webster, defines it that way. But you're right. Going back to dictionaries, it's not of much use. Despite that, let's try to get a little deeper into this discussion. So, what is it that you think about God? Because that would be a better way. I mean, you're talking. You started out this discussion by saying, we need to have a conversation. So let's have that conversation. What's your thinking about sort of not religion as an institution, because that's a whole different matter, but just the idea of a God or a supernatural, not even necessarily a Judeo-Christian Muslim God, of course, because there's many different versions of that concept.
So before I answer that question, I'll say that of all my speeches and all my writings, no more than 0.5%, I would say, of the content of what I've delivered to the public in videos and in television programs, in interviews, no more than 0.5% even addresses God or spirituality or anything of the sort. So it is not my priority to have conversations on this topic.
Look at this backpedaling. What a weakling. What a complete evasion of what is an unbelievably important topic of our day. He is surrounded by it. The guy wants funding for science. The guy wants science to be taught correctly in schools. Does the guy care that most of the world is totally insane? That violence that we see, people are dying all around the world because of religion, because of this horrible magical thinking, and he's like backpedaling away from the question. Like, oh, well, I really rarely talk about this. I'm more about, the science and this, that's my shit over here. It's a space program. Answer the question, Neil. You were just a second ago hyping yourself up about how you're a big thinker. You're famous for thinking. So why don't you spit out your thoughts about this massive, enormous issue of earth-shattering importance? Why are you ducking that? Fucking scandalously shameful. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. Neil, if I get asked a question that is of huge importance, say, and somebody says, hey, Devin, what are your thoughts about gays? And should they be married? Should we put them to death? We're not sure. What should we do about these people? They seem very unnatural. It says that we should kill them in this book. Where do you stand on that, Devin? My response is not, wait, well, out of all the videos I make, I'm a web designer, you guys. I like watching UFC. I enjoy traveling. I'm really not about the gay thing. I don't talk about it that much, and I'm just not about it at all. And then after 2 hours of them prying, I finally say, well, yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with being gay. And I'm in favor of gay marriage, and I'm pro-gay rights in every way, shape, and form. Okay, so then you're pro-gay? Well, no, see, that's a label, though. You just labeled me. And I just explained to you that I don't want anything to do with this issue. I want to make websites. I want to travel. I want to go to the UFC. Okay, well, yeah, we understand all that. You can still do all that, but it is safe to say that you're pro-gay because you are, in fact, pro-gay. You've said it hundreds of times, thousands of times. We know you're pro-gay. Yes, I am pro-gay. No. While I understand that somebody could easily think that, I would rather you just refer to me as Devin Tracy. I'm not really into labels. Well, isn't Devin Tracy sort of a label? Well, yeah, that's a good point. So I would rather you just make eye contact with me and just grunt, just sort of a audible sound that lets me know you're referring to me. Just, Okay, but isn't that a label, sort of in a way? Yeah, but then mix it up. Just change the grunt sound every time you reference me. And that to me is a more enlightened way to go through life.
Sure. It's not what I'm about. I'm an educator. I'm a scientist. And I like singing the praises of the universe. Right. The glory of the universe. Right.
Fair enough. But we're having this conversation, just the three of us.
No, I understand that.
Nobody else is listening.
I just don't...
You're very unbelievable, Massimo.
I just want to make it clear that this is a huge exception to my conduct to come to you on this matter.
And we're very proud of it.
Okay. So I remain unconvinced by any claims anyone has ever made about the existence or the power of a divine force operating in the universe.
Okay.
Oh, wow. And 10 hours in, we get a definitive statement about what you think about God. And the answer is no, you don't believe in a God, so you're an atheist. Pack it up, guys. We're going home. That's it. Get the camera crew. We're gone. You're an atheist, Neil. A friggin' atheist. Embrace it. Accept it. Acknowledge it. What a pathetic backpedaling that we just witnessed. That gives me the hives. I have douche chills from listening to this guy backpedal off that. And that's his stark opinion. Why? Because it's the right opinion. It's the scientifically sane opinion to have. There's no evidence. This is what we've been saying from day one. Holy Christ. Oh, wait a minute. I just said holy Christ. I'm an atheist. How could that be? Oh, I don't want to be labeled. Let me go stroke my mustache and talk about how big of a thinker I am.
So from that perspective, let's say you don't believe in gods for...
That's not what I said. I said I remain unconvinced. I prefer my words than your...
Oh, look at that. And he backpedals some more. Look at this defensive shit. Who are you trying to please, Neil? Holy Christ, look at this kowtowing to just these invisible religious people out there. The people with the money, the people that want to fund the space program. I mean, what possible motive could you have to be like, wait a minute, I didn't say I didn't believe in gods. I said I remain unconvinced. Neil, what is the difference? There is no difference. That is pathetic. You don't believe in gods. That's an accurate statement. Wow, this is a sickness. This is a laughable stance. Neil, remaining unconvinced means that you don't believe in it. It's a binary thing, Neil. You either do or you do not believe in a god. You don't. Therefore, you don't believe in a god. Jesus, you can talk more about it. Yeah, lay on the fucking insignificant non-difference of saying, I remain unconvinced that. Fucking A. Do we have to go back to the flying teapot? Do you believe in a flying teapot going around the earth? It's in orbit, Neil. Oh, little Neil, it's in orbit. That's that thing you like to talk about, right? Space and all that. Have you seen a flying teapot? No? There's no evidence of that? Okay, so then you remain unconvinced that there's a flying teapot? Yeah? Okay, so do you believe there is a flying teapot? No, you don't. It's the exact same thing. Wow. And he sits there, leans back in his chair like, yes, that's right. I remain unconvinced. I never said I didn't believe. I said I remain unconvinced. Neil, that has achieved nothing aside from exposing the fact that you are intellectually dishonest for devious reasons. And you're a coward. You are an outright coward.
I don't use the word believe because I'm very evidence-driven. And when you're evidence-driven, the word belief has very little role in your life. So I'm unconvinced by any statements or evidence put forth by others in the claim of the existence of a powerful entity that is in control of the world or had even started the world, whether or not they're still in control.
I take your meaning.
That is such trash, Neil. Look at him get hyper-specific on the word believe. Fine, say no. Do you know? Do you know that there is a teapot or not? Do you know? These are words we use. Everybody knows what we're referencing here. Do you know, Neil, that you are alive? Do you know that you're a man? Do you believe that you're a man? Do you have the opinion that? I mean, these are fucking, what a dance. What a tap dance this guy's doing.
The reason I use the word belief actually is because, yes, you're right, of course, especially within this kind of conversation, as soon as you start talking about belief, then you're talking about faith and you're blah, blah, blah. But
you're talking about thoughts without evidence to support
right. But in fact, I suppose, using the word belief in a sort of Bayesian sense, that is proportional your belief to the evidence. And in that case, it's a legitimate word to use in this case. If you don't like it, we can use another one. But the question is, let's say that instead of gods, we're talking about unicorns. Do you think that you're just as unconvinced about unicorns as you are about gods, or is there a difference?
Yeah, that's about right.
Right? That's about right. Okay.
I think of cryptozoology. I think is where that comes from. Nessie and Abominable Snowman. I've not seen.
I never got why he's abominable anyway. But whatever. Whatever. It's fine with me. I mean, that seems like an unnecessary
People who've met
insult.
him would surely think it. So clearly, you're not in the club.
Obviously.
But I think surely it's possible to find life forms that we've never known were out there. In fact, it's happening daily. But it tends to be, we're discovering new species all the time. I work at a natural history museum, and while I'm not the one discovering species, I'm friends with those who are.
And now he's just off in biology and science nerd land, and he's just avoiding everything. So in the end, we finally pry this guy's molar tooth out, and he believes in God as much as he believes in unicorns. Okay, in any rational, sane, commonsensical approach to an assessment of your thoughts, beliefs, no, we'll say thoughts about the nature of reality, you are an atheist. You do not think there is a God. You have seen no evidence for that, so that is your opinion about it. Your thought, your understanding, your belief, your knowingness, to whatever extent you can know something, is that there are no unicorns and there is no God. So you are an a-unicornist because you do not think unicorns exist, and you are an atheist because you do not think that a God exists, based on the complete lack of evidence for that. Wow, and so let's get this guy off of my lineup. And good riddance. He wasn't in my lineup originally. I got a huge backlash from a bunch of Neil deGrasse Tyson freaks who were like, where's Neil? Where's Neil? Where's Neil? So I said, okay, I'll put him in. He's doing shit for science. I assumed he was way more reasonable than this, and at least acknowledged that he was an atheist, for fuck's sake. The guy was the host of Cosmos, which does a lot to promote science and sanity. But this guy is about as deserving to be in this lineup as Osama bin Laden. Get him out of here. You're gone, Neil, and we're replacing you with a white man. Happens to be white, happens to be gay, happens to be non-Jewish, which is different than most of the people in this lineup. It's Douglas Murray. You heard it right. Douglas Murray. Sir Douglas Murray. I will knight him right here and now. Sir Douglas Murray, who is an outspoken, brave, honorable, ferocious, Hitchens-esque crusader for sanity, and who openly denounces Islam, which a lot of liberal atheists will not do, as you will come to see. Denounces all threats to sanity and peace on earth, which includes all religions. The man is a total and complete stud, a gay stud, a gud, and he is going in the lineup, and that's all that needs to be said. So kiss my ass, Neil deGrasse Tyson. You are a cow. Well, I don't want to label you that. You are Neil deGrasse Tyson.